Seems as though Star Wars Galaxy's Edge may finally be becoming a Star Wars theme park. We see this here from Scott Gustin. New Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland is getting a new background music loop built from John Williams' original score, including the main title at the land's entrance, the Cantina Band song near August Cantina, and other classics like Han Solo and the Princess, and more. Guys, this is massive, but we're not done. Disneyland says Luke Skywalker will roam Black Spire Outpost seeking Force knowledge and lightsaber lore, while Leia Organa reunites with Luke and Chewbacca near the Millennium Falcon. Han Solo will roam near the Millennium Falcon and August Cantina. He also goes on to say that Rey will appear in the Resistance Camp area of Galaxy's Edge, while Ahsoka Tano, the Mandalorian, and Grogu will roam near the Marketplace. Disneyland also confirmed no story changes are planned for Rise of the Resistance as part of the timeline updates, but also part of the Galaxy's Edge timeline expansion of Disneyland. First Order cargo will become Black Spire surplus. Doc Ondar's Den will rotate new artifacts, and Droid Depot will be operated by an earlier generation of the Mubo family.
They're also saying that they're bringing not only Luke Skywalker, Leia, and Han, but also Darth Vader. This all begins April 29th, I believe, for the start of the season of the Force over there at Disneyland.
Yes, it looks like here as well. Scott Gustin says Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland will expand its timeline on April 29th, bringing Darth Vader, Luke Skywalker, Leia Organa, and Han Solo into the land. The timeline expansion and other changes will only apply to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge at Disneyland. None of these changes announced today impact Galaxy's Edge at Walt Disney World. What?
Ridiculous.
That is maybe the most ridiculous thing I've ever heard in my life. Why on earth would you do this in just Disneyland?
I don't know. This is really bizarre. They do have the Season of the Force campaign that kicks off every single year at Disneyland Resort specifically, and that usually includes like the overlay for a Space Mountain out there, right? This is very unusual to have this much work actually being done with Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, but not adapting it for Walt Disney World. It seems like a very big missed opportunity.
Well, maybe it's just maybe they're just testing it out in Disneyland to see how it works before rolling it into. But here's the other thing: Luke Skywalker, Han Solo, and Princess Leia in Walt Disney World creates a mess. I will tell you that. It will definitely create a mess. It will be impossible to get anywhere near them because we all saw the way they were with the Mandalorian. We never even got Boba Fett and Ahsoka Tano at Walt Disney World because I guess Walt Disney World people don't really have chill when it comes to characters, whereas the entire character culture of Disneyland is so much different. But I mean, we saw when they brought Luke Skywalker out, they had that big, huge crowd when Luke was roaming around.
Yep. And we saw it again, too, with Chewbacca for Life Day. At least on the first day that he was brought out there, a big old crowd swarmed around him, even at Disneyland. So even Disneyland, at times, could very much lose their chill. But it is surprising, Marvin, how they haven't brought this out. I'm guessing it's the lack of character meet and greet spaces that they now have over there at Disney Hollywood Studios and Disneyland's Galaxy's Edge, frankly. There just aren't places by which you can actually arrange queues and so forth. So that might be one of the issues plaguing Walt Disney World.
Yeah, no, I'm with you, but the only reason I'll push back is just to say there's plenty of empty space. They believe me, you can camp out in Galaxy's Edge in Florida, but they would have to repurpose this. They would also have to create shade. That's the other factor, because in Florida, it's going to be hot if you're Darth Vader or any of these face characters. Also, I would say casting's probably a big problem in Florida as opposed to California, where a lot of these face characters can be easily found.
Well, it's funny because after they closed the launch bay, I think the Darth Vader meet and greet and Chewbacca, and I think one other character that was more of like a robot that they control, that was all moved over to Galaxy's Edge. But I don't know if you guys got a chance to check out the back chat that we all have together, because they're doing some major casting calls for actors to do performances at Walt Disney World specifically. So maybe this has something to do with that, because they're hiring like crazy, and it shows the roles on the description of the hiring of who they're looking for, except certain height and weight, etc. So
this sounds to me a lot like what we originally were told the concept was for Galaxy's Edge in three different time periods, essentially. So in the Resistance Camp area, you've got sequel era, which is going to have Rey walking around, probably not Kylo Ren, because you can't, that area is so small. It's also the smallest area is the one where they're putting Rey. And then in the marketplace, you're going to have the Mandoverse. You're going to have Mando and Grogu. You're going to have Ahsoka. You're going to have Boba Fett, maybe Fennec as well. Who knows? And then over in, I guess they said that by the Millennium Falcon and that First Order area, it's going to be all the original trilogy. And that is the biggest area that we're talking about here.
It's also the area that needs the most people, because there have been many times I've gone back there at Disneyland and there's like nobody back there, nobody at the milk stand, barely anybody in front of Oka's Cantina, almost nobody at the First Order area or the Black Spire area in front of the Millennium Falcon. So those areas could profoundly benefit from OG inclusion. And here's the thing, it's not just the characters, but they're also imbuing music, something that Galaxy's Edge has been desperately needing ever since it opened.
Well, I mean, that's been one of the major complaints, is the absence of that kind of theming. I mean, every area in every other location has some kind of, whether you're aware of it or not, ambient noise and music. And it's been, there you get the occasional spaceship taking off and landing if you're paying attention and somebody remembered to turn the volume up that day. But other than that, it's kind of devoid of anything that would be immersive and putting you into the Star Wars mood. John Williams. Oh yeah. Thank you. And more, please.
The John Williams score is clutch. I mean, that's going to be hugely important for the immersion of this land.
Huge.
Because how do you, like, one of the things that I love in Star Tours is that it uses the John Williams score. I mean, you hear the John Williams score all throughout Star Tours. So why, the fact that it was never a part of Galaxy's Edge to begin with, this is just utter nonsense. But now here's my question to you guys. We all know that Lucasfilm is getting a major creative shuffle going on within the next week. Kathleen Kennedy reportedly on her way out. Dave Filoni taking over creativity here. Now, we have sources that have said this has been the case for a while, but do you think that the timing of this announcement is coinciding with this in order to get people excited about a new regime change at Lucasfilm? Is this the Disney company trying to be like out with the old, in with the new, and look, they're listening to you guys?
Someone posted in the comments, Kathleen Kennedy must really be gone because look what's happening. Go ahead. I don't know who was going to talk. Somebody was going to talk.
No, I
that
think
is true.
Erica, go ahead. We haven't heard from Erica yet. Go ahead.
Wasn't
Please.
Kathleen Kennedy the one responsible for telling Imagineering to change everything? So that tracks as far as I'm concerned.
That is what we have heard. We have heard in the past that Kathleen Kennedy was the one who, when the original plan was to have a prequel area, original trilogy area, and a sequel era, she wanted the entire thing anchored in the sequel trilogy. Vash, am I correct in that assumption? That's what we've heard?
Yes, that's certainly what we've heard. And so, Kathleen Kennedy's influence on Star Wars Galaxy's Edge cannot be understated. The first version of Galaxy's Edge, yes, was rejected, was supposed to feature a lot of original trilogy items and lore and signature places and so forth that people have loved for almost 50 years now. Unfortunately, that was sidelined for the new direction of Lucasfilm and its products. Unfortunately, they didn't necessarily light the world on fire. But also, too, the undercurrent of this is also with that Wall Street Journal article suggesting that there were going to be 5 missions for Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run, for example. I think everybody kind of knows that Star Wars Galaxy's Edge underperformed, and that might actually be because of its disconnect with, I think, what made Star Wars such this enduring brand for so long. And speaking of John Williams, I mean, you have John Williams over there at Harry Potter, right? People go into that land. It's very immersive, imbuing this with OG characters, but also that signature music. Again, this will bring this land a new life, which it's needed for so long.
Now, I'm assuming we're going to see pretty much what we're seeing right here in this image, which is going to be Darth Vader and the OG stormtroopers, the actual stormtroopers, out in front of this ship. However, this is a sequel era ship. Do you think we get an update to make it a TIE fighter or an Imperial shuttle? Or do you think they're just going to be like, the story doesn't matter anymore? Darth Vader's going to come out of Kylo Ren's ship.
It's going to be that.
Yeah.
They just don't care anymore.
Yeah.
It's funny because this land was so slavishly anchored in story for so long, and now it looks like we are just going to completely take that apart. You're going to be basically time traveling to the different areas, and again, this is what it always should have been. No, and I'm not one of those people that's like, get rid of Rey, get her out of there, but it's fine to keep her in that resistance camp area. It's a small little area, and you kind of need her for the resistance, the Rise of the Resistance storyline, because they're not gonna make major changes to Rise of the Resistance. It's not gonna happen. Though, I mean, if you called it the Rise of the Rebellion and you changed everything to make it Luke and Vader and all that stuff, it would be a much more popular ride. But it's never gonna happen. It's just too much of a cost that they would incur. Now, I mean, if only they had made this call when they had the Galactic Star Cruiser. Vash, you weren't here. I fixed the Star Cruiser storyline. I said, because apparently in lore, the Halcyon is where either Princess Leia and Han Solo either got married or took their honeymoon. And why wasn't that it? The wedding of Han Solo and Princess Leia, and you're invited, and the last Inquisitor storms the ship, and Luke has to fight him, and Leia, who's learning how to be a Jedi, uses the Force for the first time to defend her wedding and to defend Han from the Inquisitor. That would have been, you take my mind. I would have saved up for years to go experience that. But what do I know? Just a YouTuber.
It's astounding, actually. Just the resentment of the original classic trilogy. I understand they try to make it work multiple times to do more sequel stuff, but people really wanted those OG characters. They really wanted to be connected with the universe that they knew and loved, not the ones that was being forced on them. So this idea that we're not going to embrace ideas like that, Marvin, was really profound. If you want to do something with Han and Leia's honeymoon, you could have included many characters, noteworthy characters that would have maybe joined them, and it would have made sense for those characters to be included. And that way you can immerse people into that world even further. It's just very, very strange. I would think that bigger concepts like reimagining that TIE fighter, for instance, that's behind them in this picture, or Rise of Resistance, I would think that would be a joint venture between the parks, and so we would get updates to both simultaneously. These, including some characters into some areas, that's a smaller scale, but hey, maybe this is a stepping stone to bigger and better things.
One more thing I wanted to ask you guys what you think about, because we know now that they have the ability to change Millennium Falcon Smuggler's Run.
Oh yeah.
Correct.
So we're getting a Mandalorian version of it. Do you think in the future maybe we'll get an original trilogy version of it in order to fit in better with the storyline of that area? If that is going to be the area where Luke, Han, and Leia are going to be around the Millennium Falcon.
Well, I think that you answered your own question, because if you take a look at it, in what way is the Millennium Falcon genuinely tied to that attraction? You don't necessarily have to be boarding the Millennium Falcon. With a few set changes in that particular part of the pre-show, you could just make that a boarding lounge for any other thing. You could be in a Y-wing. You don't even necessarily have to be in the Millennium Falcon, although it'll still kind of present that way.
I mean, I think the whole point of it is you're flying the Falcon.
No, you could be flying anything. Believe me, nobody feels like they're flying the Falcon. They feel like they're a passenger with a 10-year-old kid that's running him into every dang thing against the wall.
So when I'm flying, culture.
Okay, I'm just going to
exactly
say that
what it feels like.
I've been in all 6 positions of that stupid attraction, and I have to tell you, it's the least satisfying thing that you could possibly experience. It's a less enjoyable Star Cruiser 3000.
I flew it by myself one time. I was the only one in my party.
How did you launch the tow cables and the all important
they do it
depth charges?
It does automatically.
Okay, I'm just
I had the
teasing.
distinct pleasure of doing that myself, by myself, actually, recently, Marvin, just like you did. And it was quite the engaging experience for sure.
I got to experience the whole attraction with during a complete power outage in the ride itself.
Oh man!
So there was nothing on the screen. There's a lot of herky-jerky weirdness. There was nothing going on other than the little screen in the consoles with that stupid made-up Hodaku Kandutsu ugly face-o guy, talking to me about, the power outage that I was experiencing, that, it was beyond their control.
If you're claustrophobic, that has to be a nightmare. It's like getting stuck on a ride that has like nothing over your head comparing to something that's like, whoop. Oh no.
Well, I mean, you've got lots of lights. I mean, but it's
focus.
Oh, sorry. Okay, back to this.
Yeah.
Look, I think if I were going to suggest something that would make maybe sense for my friends in Walt Disney World, this is just a trial. And what's worse is it's being done in KK's backyard because Burbank's right there, Brentwood's right there, and within 25 minutes of her house, she's got to experience old Star Wars in the place she tried to destroy Star Wars.
Right. There you go.
All right, guys. Well, it stands to. We still don't know whether or not this is going to be coming across the country to Walt Disney World, or whether it's going to just be a long time ago in a state far, far away.
Thanks for watching That Park Plays News. For more information, consider checking out www.thatparkplace.com. And don't forget to subscribe, share, like, and send this out on your favorite social media accounts.